What's up, everyone? FC here from E-MTB, and it's a little hot to be outside right now, so I'm going to give you some hot news about the bike industry. You guys seem to like my, jibber jabber about goings on in the bike industry, so I'm going to give you 3 pieces of information, rumors, and news. The first one is, I hear that e-bike manufacturers are switching from Shimano to Bosch in big numbers. Someone told me 40%, undocumented or unconfirmed, but that was kind of his estimate. And if I had to guess right now, I would say, yeah, about 30 to 40% are going to be switching from Shimano to Bosch. And why is that? I've seen Pivot, and I've heard some other companies switching over from Shimano, and Pivot is like the number one Shimano fan. The number one, and there's 3 reasons why they're switching. The number one is their system is better. It is just better, meaning more power, more configuration, better app, better switching, better display. And so if you have an e-bike, manufacturer A, manufacturer B, 80% of it is defined by your motor system. You could optimize the other stuff, but so much of your bike, more than 50% for sure, is defined by your motor. So if your motor is not as good as the competition, you're going to lose, especially if you're charging more money or the same amount of money. For the discerning consumer, the enthusiast, who knows what they're looking for. So they're better in terms of power, the torquier over a flatter curve, more than Shimano. It does rattle. They rattle, Shimano rattles, so that's kind of equal when you're descending and coasting. More resolution on the bottom bracket, on the torque sensor. And the main reason why they're better is because they're on version 4 of their motor. It's called Bosch CX 4, I think, because the first version was awful, little tiny chainring like that, but now they're so much better. It takes iterations for motor manufacturers to get better. Same thing with bike manufacturers. You don't want to get the first e-bike bike company has ever made, because they're going to make some mistakes and they're going to improve along the way. So that's the number 1 reason. The number 2 reason is because they have more options. So the biggest option right now is mid-drive. They have a mid-drive motor called the SX, the Bosch SX, which is the hottest part of the segment, growing, that is. Not everyone's going to go mid-drive. That's a minority, but that's the one that's growing. People are introducing. If you're with Shimano, you don't have anything to introduce. You could throttle down your EP8 motor, but it's still going to be heavy, and you have to make your own battery. Bosch SX is a 55 Newton meter motor and a small battery, and they have an extender, 250 watt extender. And guess what? That extender works on the full powered as well. So now you have cross compatibility. So the other option they have is the Bosch CX Race, where it is kind of an impractical motor, kind of expensive and limited numbers, but they juice up the response of the motor. So it has more overrun, it responds faster. But things like that, if you have a race team in the Enduro Electric World Series, EEWS, you need the best motor. And so that's another reason why people are migrating. And the third reason is, my opinion, they have better support. Bosch has the best support out of any motor manufacturer, probably in Europe and here in the States. Shimano, I'm an industry guy. I'm trying to get some Shimano support because one of my motors is not working. The switch died or something, and wow, it's like pulling teeth. So that's number 1 news. Okay, second bit of news is about the bike inventory problem. It continues to be a situation at Nakatomi Plaza, where the supply chain is still clogged up with old bikes. So there's 2 articles in Bicycle Retailer Industry News, really good resource. Rick Bosper wrote one, and they interviewed the CEO of Kent Bicycles, which you might not know of, but they're one of the biggest U.S. manufacturers in units in the U.S. The Kent CEO said, hey, we do big box, like Walmart and Costco and whatnot, and we do IBDs, independent bicycle retailers. He says the big box problem situation is getting better. It's kind of cleared up now. Those $100, $400 bikes, it's getting better. He goes, but man, that IBD situation is a big problem. The big problem. They do brands like Van Dessel and Univega, I think. Obviously not very premium brands in the enthusiast market, but brands nonetheless. And they said, man, big problem. And he said, these bike dealers have so much inventory that they're just not ordering new stuff from manufacturers. And the bigger problem, he said, was all the premium manufacturers, the other manufacturers are offering such good deals that the middle of the line guys are left. They said, hey, they forgot our phone number. They're not calling us back to order stuff. So what does that mean? And I did check. They have another article that said Rick Vosper interviewed some marketing managers, and they didn't name names so they could be more honest. And they said, wow, there's a situation here where there's so much Santa Cruz, Trek, Specialized, like the big three, the biggest three. So everyone has followed their lead. They said they have so much inventory that they're pushing it down to dealers. Santa Cruz is trying to push it out directly, but they're pushing it down to dealers. And how are they doing it? They're giving them payment terms. Payment terms meaning you don't have to pay. Net 90 is typical. Net 60, you have to pay in 90 days. They said they're giving them like net 200, net 250. You don't have to pay for 250 days. So here, take my bikes, pay me later, get rid of these. And they said the bikes are discounted 30, up to 30%, up to 40%. So just wow. And when the leaders do that, everybody, has a hard time. How are they going to follow suit? How are they going to sell their bike 20% off when the Levo is, 30% off or something like that? So big problem right there. But that's the second piece of news. It'll take the rest of 2025 to clear it up. And man, you guys must be feeling it as well on the used market. So that's the problem. The number two problem is the bike inventory. It continues to be a situation. So there's a lot of deals to be had out there. Make sure you guys take advantage of it. All right, the number three piece of news that I have for you guys is e-bikes are getting legalized. Brick by brick by brick. Region by region by region. It's like amazing what's happening. It's expected, but it's good to see. And one of the examples is the Tahoe National Forest is really spearheading this. They realize that, hey, these devices are not the devil. They use them. They're like, okay, yeah, our terrain's kind of mountainous for our tourists, for our economy to ride here. High elevation and very steep. And these e-bikes are cool. So they realize that. Really friendly rangers who understand, or decision makers who try to understand what they're dealing with before they make a decision. And they're legalizing it everywhere. So Flume Trail, Corral Trail, all these new beautiful trails that are being developed for mountain bikes are being legalized for e-bikes. So and why is that significant? The National Forest, as it turns out, every region, they can make their own decision. But as a whole, they'll just follow whoever the leaders are, or the brave souls are. So if Tahoe does it, let him fly for a couple of years, and if nothing happens, it's all good. Economy goes up, we'll follow. So I think everyone's going to follow suit, because the greatest thing about e-bike access is what I'm seeing is there's so much concern, so much hate from old folks, from traditional mountain bikers against opening new trails to e-bikes. But when you open it, you know what happens? Nothing. It's all good. There's no erosion. There's just more people enjoying the sport.